चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्कृतं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरोः श्रीवैष्णवां च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखांश्च। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपीश गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो
Um,
विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रस्थाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी इति नाम्ने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणी निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशहरिणी। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। शृण्वतां स्वकथा कृष्णः पुण्यश्रवणकीर्तनः। हृद्यन्तस्तो भद्राणि विधुनोति सुहृत् सतां। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवतसेवया भगवत्युत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। Before reciting this Srimad-Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead Narayana, unto Naranarayana Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma, super soul in everyone's heart and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee who has developed the urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Hari Bol.
Haribol, Jai Shri Prabhupada. Thank you,
Jai Srila
Prabhu.
Prabhupada.
Haribol. So who wants to read the first thing parts?
I can read again. No problem.
Yes, Prabhu. His
Okay.
quality looks nice today.
Yeah. Canto 3, the status quo. Chapter 1, questions by Vidura. Sri Suta Uvacha, Evam Etat Pura.
No, it's Shuka, Prabhu.
Oh, श्री सुक उवाच एवम् एतत् पुरा पृष्टो मैत्रेयो भगवान् किल क्षत्रा वनं प्रविष्टेन त्यक्त्वा स्वगृहं रिद्धिमत् synonyms. Sri Sukha Uvacha, Sri Sukadeva Goswami said, Evam, thus, Etat, this, Pura, formerly, Prishtaha, being asked, Maitreyaha, the great sage Maitreya, Bhagavan, his grace, Kila, certainly, Kshatra, by Vidura, Vanam, forest, Pravishte, na, entering, Tyaktva, renouncing swagraham, own house, riddhimat, prosperous. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation: Sukadeva Goswami said, after renouncing his prosperous home and entering the forest, King Vidura, the great devotee, asked this question of His Grace Maitreya Rishi. Text 2. Yadva ayam mantra kridvo bhagavan akileshwaraha pauravendra griham hitva praviveshat masat kritam. Synonyms: yet, the house. Why? What else is there to say? I am Sri Krishna, mantra krit, minister. Vaha, you people. Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead. Akhila Ishwaraha, the Lord of everything. Pauravendra, Duryodhana. Griham, house. Hitva, giving up. Pravivesha, entered. Atmasat, identify with oneself. Kritam, so accepted. Translation: what else is there to say about the residential house of the Pandavas? Sri Krishna, the Lord of everything, acted as your minister. He used to enter that house as if it were his own, and he did not take any care of Duryodhana's house. Who is saying these words? Is it Maitreya? Come down. He used to enter the house as if it were his own, and he did not take any care of Duryodhana. Yeah. Because Lord Sri Krishna, after rejecting to enter Duryodhana's house in the Sabha Parva of the Mahabharata, entered Vidura's house later to take prasadam
Hare
from him.
Krishna, bro. Dhanot Ram to all of you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Shubham Prabhu Dandar Pram Jai Prabhupada.
God Sakti Prabhu, very, very thanks for preaching to my prayer.
Haribol.
Today, Prabhu has preached him 1.5 hour, Prabhu.
What, Prabhu?
To God Sakti Prabhu has preached to my prayer 1.5 hour, Prabhu.
Oh, you called him?
No, Prabhu. God Sakti Prabhu was on video call with him.
Yes, Prabhu. Okay, very nice. Keep doing this. Call him every day. But what was the answer to the about who was talking?
My brother, Prabhu.
Oh, yes, Prabhu.
So you can ask God Sakti Prabhu for what he feels.
Gaura Shakti Prabhu, are you there?
Yes, I just arrived, bro. What happened?
I'm not sure. You need to explain me.
Oh, what? What I need to explain to you?
Shubham Prabhu said I need to ask you something, or I'm not sure. I didn't hear fully.
Oh, is it about preaching?
Yes.
Because I was talking with some relative of some friend of Subhan
Oh.
today. I talked, yeah, and because Subhan Prabhu asked me to talk, to preach to him about the holy name and the importance of reading Srila Prabhupada book. So by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, I tried to say something about this. So
Yes.
yeah, he said the person said that he will chant and he will read Srila Prabhupada book. He will chant on Mala also.
Yes, so he is
So I
my
explained.
Bhakta, Prabhu.
Oh, okay. So yes, he is willing to read Prabhupada book and he's willing also to chant. So I was explaining to him how to chant on the Mala and the importance also of reading, that you need to read at least, you need to begin with Bhagavad Gita as it is, or a small book. So yes, bro, this was going on by the mercy of Prabhupada, and yeah, because Subhan Prabhu gave me the opportunity to say something, so
Yes,
yeah,
Prabhu.
it was nice.
So, yes, Prabhu. So can you
And
scroll
Subhan
back
Prabhu
to
was
the verse,
translating.
Pranjal Prabhu? Please scroll back to the verse. Okay, I want to see it again. Yes, Prabhu. Okay, now understood. Yes, Gaura Shakti Prabhu, where you say, what were you going to say?
No, I was just adding that Subhan Prabhu was translating because he is more, he's speaking Hindi, you know, he's not very
Yes, Prabhu.
well
I told
versed
you
in
about
English.
speaking English.
Yes, I speak English the whole time, and Subhan Prabhu was translating in Hindi.
Yes, Prabhu. Yeah, really nice service.
Yeah, this is nice, Subhan Prabhu. So all glory to him.
Yes, Prabhu.
I just tried to say something about reading and chanting. That's all. So you were reading, right? You already start.
Yes, Prabhu. This is the 62nd verse, third verse.
Okay, keep going. Keep going.
This is the second verse, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu, second verse.
Yeah, in fact,
Yeah, Vidura is asking Maitreya Rishi.
no, I think Maitreya was asking this question to Vidra because it is not clearly mentioned. Okay, after renouncing his prosperous home and entering the forest, King Vidra, the great devotee, asked his question of His Grace Maitreya Rishi. Okay, come down, bro. The second translation says that what else is there to say about the residential house of the Pandavas? Sri Krishna, the Lord of everything, acted as your minister. He used to enter that house as if it were his own, and he did not take any care of Duryodhana's house. See, look
Yes,
at the
Prabhu, I think this
Yes.
is my prayer.
exactly. That's what I'm
Yes.
I'm just coming to that point. Okay, so here, in the Yudhyoga Parva, okay, of Mahabharata, Krishna entered first. Krishna met Duryodhana, okay, but rejected to accept any service from Duryodhana because he was on the adharma side. So he then later visited Vidra's house to stay there.
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay, yeah, fine. So these were the words from Maitreya asking Vidura.
Yeah, now it's clear.
Yeah, come down. Let me read the
What he
purport.
asked.
Purport. Okay, according to the Gaudiya Achintya Beda Beda Tattva philosophy, anything which satisfies the senses of the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna is also Sri Krishna. Anything which satisfies the senses, okay, of the Lord is also Sri Krishna. For example, Sri Vrindavana Dhama is not different from Sri Krishna Tadhama Vrindavanam. Because at Vrindavana, the Lord enjoys the transcendental bliss of his internal potency. Similarly, the house of the Pandavas was also the source of transcendental bliss for the Lord. It is mentioned here that the Lord identified the house with his own self. Thus, the house of the Pandavas was as good as Vrindavana, and Vidra should not have given up that place of transcendental bliss. Therefore, the reason for his quitting the house was not exactly family misunderstandings. Rather, Vidra took the opportunity to meet Rishi Maitreya and discuss transcendental knowledge. For a saintly person like Vidra, any disturbance due to worldly affairs is insignificant. Such disturbances, however, are sometimes favorable for higher realization, and therefore Vidra took advantage of a family misunderstanding in order to meet Maitreya Rishi. Text 3. Rajovacha Kutrakshatur Bhagavata Maitreyanasa Sangamaha Kadavasaha Samvada Etad Varnaya Naha Prabho. Synonyms. Raja Uvacha, the king said, Kutra, wherein, Shattuhu, with Vidura, Bhagavata, and with his grace, Maitreyana, with Maitreya, Asa, there was Sangamaha, meeting, Kada, when, Va, also, Saha, with Samvadaha, discussion, Etad, this, Varnaya, describe, Naha, unto me, Prabho, O my lord. Translation. The king asked Sukadeva Goswami, where and when did the meeting and discussion take place between Saint Vidra and His Grace Maitreya Muni? Kindly oblige, my lord, and describe this to us.
So,
Okay.
Prabhu, I think this is Maharaj Sukdev Goswami was speaking to Maharaj Parikshit.
Yes, Prabhu.
In fact, it is in the opposite order. Parikshit asked Sukadeva Goswami here.
Now he is asking, before this Sukdev Goswami was speaking, I think, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu. In the first verse, it was said, Sukadev Goswami spoke.
Whom was he asking?
Parikshit Maharaj, he was saying that he Bhagavan Krishna understand your home as his own.
One second, let me go back to the second test. Okay, what else is there to say about the residential house of the Pandavas? Sri Krishna, the Lord of everything, acted as your minister. He used to enter the house and he did not take any care of Duryodhana's house. No, in fact, if you go back to the translation of the first verse, see, King Vidura was asked this question by Maitreya. Even though those words were coming from the mouth of Sukadeva Goswami,
Yes, Prabhu.
but he was describing the conversation happened between, or maybe the beginning of the conversation happened between Maitreya and Vidra. So
Yes,
the
Prabhu.
second verse was the words came out from the mouth of Maitreya Rishi.
Yes, Prabhu.
You cannot conclude that since the first verse, the beginning of this first verse says that it's Sota Uvacha, sorry, Sukha Uvacha, all the following verses may not be spoken by the same person. He might be describing some different conversation happened between two other individuals as well. Is it clear,
See, so
bro?
what happens here is that Sukadev Goswami is saying what Maitreya Rishi is saying. And now what happens? Parikshit Maharaj will ask question from Sukadeva Goswami.
Exactly. So the second in the second verse, Sukadeva Goswami mentioned that a question was asked by Maitreya, okay, to Vidura.
Yes,
In fact,
he's
the
explaining
first
their
verse.
conversation. Yes, Prabhu.
Exactly. Now, in the third verse, King Parikshit raised another question to Sukadeva Goswami about their whereabouts and the timing of their meeting as well.
Yes, Prabhu.
So the second verse was the conversation between Vidura and Maitreya.
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay, fine. Did I complete reading the purport of this verse? Maybe not. Okay, purport. Exactly as Saunaka Rishi inquired of Sota Goswami and Sota Goswami replied, so Srila Sukadeva Goswami replied to King Parikshit's inquiries. The king was very anxious to understand the meaningful discussion that took place between the two great souls. Okay. Text 4. Na ह्याल्पार्थोदयस् तस्य विदुरस्यामलात्मनः तस्मिन् वरीयसि प्रश्नः साधु वादोपबृंहितः. Synonyms: na, never, he, certainly. Alpa artha, small, unimportant, purpose. Udayaha, raised. Tasya, his. Vidurasya, of Vidura. Amala Atmanaha, of the saintly man. Tasmin, in that. Variyasi, highly purposeful. Prashnaha, questions. Question. Sadhu Vada, things approved by saints and sages. Upabrimhitaha, full with. Translation. Saint Vidura was a great and pure devotee of the Lord, and therefore his questions to His Grace Rishi Maitreya must have been very purposeful on the highest level and approved by learned circles. Purport. Questions and answers among different classes of men have different value. Inquiries by mercantile men in a business exchange cannot be expected to be highly purposeful in spiritual values. Questions and answers by different classes of men can be guessed by the caliber of the persons concerned. In the Bhagavad Gita, the discussion was between Lord Sri Krishna and Arjuna. The Supreme Person was the Supreme Person and the Supreme Devotee, respectively. The Lord admitted Arjuna to be his devotee and friend, Bhagavad Gita 4.3, and therefore any sane man can guess that the discussion was on the topic of the Bhakti Yoga system. Actually, the whole Bhagavad Gita is based on the principle of Bhakti Yoga. There is a difference between Karma and Karma Yoga. Karma is regulated action for the enjoyment of the fruit by the performer. But Karma Yoga is action performed by the devotee for the satisfaction of the Lord. Karma Yoga is based on bhakti or pleasing the Lord, whereas karma is based on pleasing the senses of the performer himself. According to Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, one is advised to approach a bona fide spiritual master when one is actually inclined to question from an elevated level of spiritual understanding. A common man who has no interest in spiritual values has no need to approach a spiritual master just as a matter of following fashion. As a student, Maharaj Parikshit was serious about learning the science of God, and Sukadeva Goswami was a bona fide spiritual master in the transcendental science. Both of them knew that the topics discussed by Vidura and Rishi Maitreya were elevated, and thus Maharaj Parikshit was very interested to learn from the bona fide spiritual master. Yeah, text 5. In fact, everyone has to pay enormous attention to this canto because so many characters come in between. And now
Yes,
here,
Prabhu.
see, look at this. Now Sota Goswami is coming into the picture right now in this
Yes,
verse.
Prabhu.
Okay, so we will be confused whether who asked this question to whom. if we don't pay much attention to the verses. Okay, text 5. Suta uvacha. Sa evam rishivaryoyam prushto rajna parikshita pratyaha tam subhuvit pratma pritatma sruyatam iti. Synonyms. Sri Sutah Uvacha. Sri Suta Goswami said, Saha, he, evam, thus, Rishivaryaha, the great Rishi, I am, Sukadeva Goswami, Prishtaha, being questioned, Rajna, by the king, Parikshita, Maharaj Parikshit, Pratyaha, replied, Tam, unto the king, Subahuvit, highly experienced, Preta Atma, fully satisfied, Shruyatam, please hear me, iti thus. Translation. Sri Suta Goswami said, the great sage Sukadeva Goswami was highly experienced and was pleasing with the king, and was pleased with the king. Thus, being questioned by the king, he said to him, please hear the topics attentively. Text 6. Sri Shuka Uvacha Yada tu Raja Swasutan Asadhun Pushnan Dharmena Vinashta Drishtihi Bhratur Evishtasya Sutan Vibandhun Praveshya Laksha Bhavane Dadhaha. Synonyms. Sri Sukha Uvacha. Sri Sukadeva Goswami said, Yada, when, tu, but, Raja, king, Dhritarashtra, Swasutan, his own sons, Asadhun, dishonest, Pushnan, nourished, never, Dharmena, on the right path, Vinashta Drishtihi, one who has lost his insight, Bhratuhu, of his brother, Evishtasya, younger, Sutan, sons, Vibandhun, having no guardian, father, Praveshya, made to enter, Laksha, lacquer. How is it pronounced? Lacquer. Is it lacquer? Lacquer. Bhavena, in the house, Tadaha, set on fire. Translation. Sri Sukadeva Goswami said, King Dhritarashtra became blind under the influence of impious desires to nourish his dishonest sons, and thus he set fire to the lacquer house to burn his fatherless nephews, the Pandavas. Purport. Dhritarashtra was blind from birth, but his blindness is committing but his blindness in committing impious activities to support his dishonest sons was a greater blindness than his physical lack of eyesight. The physical lack of eyesight does not bar one from spiritual progress, but when one is blind spiritually, even though physically equipped, that blindness is dangerously detrimental to the progressive path of human life. Text 7. Yada sabhayam kurudev devyah keshabhimaryesham sutakarma garhyam na varayamasa nripaha snushayaha swastrair harantyah kucha kunkumani. Synonyms. Yada, when, Sabhayam, the assembly, Kurudeva Devyaha, of Draupadi, the wife of godly Yudhishthira, Kesha Abhimarsham, insult by grabbing her hair, Sutakarma, action taken by his son, Garhyam, which was abominable, did not, Varaya Masa, forbidden, Nripaha, the king, Snushayah, of his daughter-in-law, Swastriyah, by her tears, Haranyaha, of she who was washing Kucha Kunkumani, red dust on her breast. Translation. The king did not forbid his son Dussasana's abominable action of grabbing the hair of Draupadi, the wife of the godly king Yudhishthira, even though her tears were washed the red dust on her breast. Text 8. Dhyute Twadharmena Yatasya Sadyoh Satyavalambasya Vanam Gatasya Na Yachoto Dat Samayena Dayam Tamo Jushano Yad Ajata Shatroh. Synonyms. Dute, by means of gambling too, but Adharmena, by unfair tricks. Jatasya, of the vanquished. Sadhyoh, a saintly person. Satya Avalambasya, one who embraced truth as shelter. Vanam, forest. Katasya, of the goer. Na, never. Yachataha, when asked for. Adat, delivered. Samayena, in due course. Dayam, right share. Tamah, Jushanaha, overwhelmed by illusion. Yet, as much as. Ajata Shatroho, one who had no enemy. Translation. Yudhishthira, who was born without any enemy, was unfairly defeated in gambling. But because he had taken the vow of truthfulness, he went off to the forest. When he came back in due course and begged the return of his rightful share of the kingdom, he was refused by Dhritarashtra, who was overwhelmed by illusion. Purport. Maharaj Yudhishthira was the rightful heir to his father's kingdom. But just to favor his own son, headed by Duryodhana, Dhritarashtra, Maharaj Yudhishthira's uncle adopted various unfair means to cheat his nephews of their rightful share of the kingdom. At last, the Pandavas demanded only 5 villages, one for each of the 5 brothers. But that was also refused by the, what is it? Usurpers. What is it? How to pronounce it, bro? Okay. These incidents led to the war of Kurukshetra. The battle of Kurukshetra, therefore, was induced by the Kurus and not the Pandavas. As Kshatriyas, the proper livelihood of the Pandavas was only to rule and not to accept any other occupation. A Brahmana, Kshatriya, or Vaishya will not accept employment for his livelihood under any circumstances. Text 9. यदा च पार्थ प्रहितः सभायां जगद्गुरुर्यानि जगाद कृष्णः न तानि पुंसाम् अमृताय नानि राजोरुमेने क्षत पुण्यलेशः. Synonyms. Yada, when, cha, also, Partha Prahitaha, being advised by Arjuna, Sabhayam, in the assembly, Jagat Guruhu, of the teacher of the world, Yani, those, Jagada, went, Krishna, Lord Krishna, na, never, Tani, such words, Pumsam, of all men of sense, Amrita, Ayam, Nani, as good as nectar, Raja, the king, Dhritarashtra or Duryodhana, Uru, very important, Mene, did consider Kshata, dwindling, Punyaleshaha, fragment of pious acts. Translation. Lord Krishna was sent by Arjuna into the assembly as the spiritual master of the whole world, and although his words were heard by some like Bhishma, etc., as pure nectar, it was not so for the others who were completely bereft of the last farthing of past works. The king Dhritarashtra or Duryodhana did not take the words of Lord Krishna very seriously. Can you go up, Prabhu, to the verse? Where was it mentioned that Lord Krishna was sent by Arjuna to the assembly for negotiation? In the verse. Okay. Pratha Prahitaha. Okay, Partha Prahitaha. Being advised by Arjuna. Okay. Partha Prahitaha. Fine. Purport. Lord Krishna, who is the spiritual master of the entire universe, accepted the duty of a messenger and deputed by Arjuna, went to the assembly of King Dhritarashtra on a peace mission. Krishna is everyone's lord, yet because he was the transcendental friend of Arjuna, he gladly accepted the role of messenger exactly like an ordinary friend. That is the beauty of the Lord's behavior with his pure devotees. He reached the assembly and spoke about peace, and the message was relished by Bhishma and other great leaders because it was spoken by the Lord himself. But due to the exhaustion of the pious results of their past deeds, Duryodhana or his father Dhritarashtra did not take the message very seriously. That is the way of persons who have no credit of pious deeds. By past pious deeds, one may become the king of a country, but because the results of the pious acts of Duryodhana and company were dwindling, it became evident from their actions that they were sure to lose the kingdom to the Pandavas. The message of Godhead is always like nectar of the devotees, but it is just the opposite to the non devotees. Sugar candy is always sweet to a healthy man, but it tastes very bitter to persons suffering from jaundice. Text 10. यदोपहूते भवनं प्रविष्टो मन्त्राय पृष्टः किल पूर्वजेन अथाह तन्मन्त्रदृशां वरीयान् यन्मन्त्रिणो वैदुरिकं वदन्ति. Synonyms. Yada, when Upahutaha was called by Bhavanam, the palace, Pravishtaha entered Mantraya for consultation. Prataha asked by Kila, of course, Purvajena by the elder brother Atha. Thus, Aha said that mantra advice drisham just suitable varinyan excellent yet that which mantrinaha the ministers of state or expert politicians vaidurikam instructions by vidura vadanti do they say. Translation. When Vidura was invited by his elder brother Dhritarashtra for consultation, he entered the house and gave instructions which were exactly to the point. His advice is well known, and instructions by Vidura are approved by expert ministers of state. Purport. Political suggestions by Vidura are known as expert, just as in modern times Pandit Chanakya is considered the authority in good counsel, both in political and moral instructions. Text 11. Ajata Setroho Prati Echa Dayam Titiksharto Durvishaham Tavagaha Sahanujo Yatra Vrukodarahiha Swasan Rusha Yat Tvam Alam Vibheshi. Synonyms. Ajata Shatroh of Yudhishthira, who has no enemy. Pratiyacha, return. Dayam, legitimate share titikshataha of him who is so forbearing, durvishaham, unbearable, tava, your agaha, offense, saha, along with anujaha, younger brothers, yatra, wherein, Rukodara, Bhima, Ahi, revenging snake, Swashan, breathing heavily, Rusha, in anger, Yat, whom, Tvam, you, Alam, verily, Bibheshi, do fear. Translation. Vidura said, you must now return the legitimate share to Yudhishthira, who has no enemies and who has been forbearing through unfold sufferings due to your offenses. He is waiting with his younger brothers, among whom is the revengeful Bhima, breathing heavily like a snake. Surely you are afraid of him. Okay. Text 12. पार्थांस्तु देवो भगवान् मुकुन्दो गृहीतवान् स क्षिदि देवदेवः आस्ते स्वपुर्यां यदुदेवदेवो विनिर्जिताशेष निदेव देवः. Synonyms. Pardhan, the sons of Prutha, Kunti, Tu, but Devaha, Lord, Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead, Mukundaha, Sri Krishna, who awards liberation, Grihitavan, has taken up Sa with Kshiti Deva Devaha. The Brahmanas and the demigods, Aste is present, Swapuryam, along with his family, Yadudeva Devaha, worshipped by the royal order of the Yadu dynasty, Vinirjita, conquered by Ashesha, unlimited, Nrideva, kings, Devaha, Lord. Translation. Lord Krishna, the personality of Godhead, has accepted the sons of Prutha as his kingsmen, and all the kings of the world are with Lord Sri Krishna. He is present in his home with all his family members, the kings and princes of the Yadu dynasty, who have conquered an unlimited number of rulers, and he is their Lord. Purport. Vidura gave Dhritarashtra very good counsel regarding political alliance with the sons of Pritha, the Pandavas. The first thing he said was the Lord Krishna was intimately related with them as their cousin. Because Lord Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is worshipable by all Brahmanas and demigods who are the controllers of the universal affairs. Besides that, Lord Krishna and his family members, the royal order of the Yadu dynasty, were the conquerors of all kings of the world. The Kshatriyas used to fight the kings of various dominions and kidnap their beautiful princess daughters after conquering their relatives. This system was laudable because the Kshatriyas and the princesses would be married only on the basis of the rivalry of the conquering Kshatriya. All the young princes of the Yadu dynasty married the daughters of other kings in this way by chivalrous force, and thus they were conquerors of all the kings of the world. Vidura wanted to impress upon his elder brother that fighting with the Pandavas was fraught with many dangers because they were supported by Lord Krishna, who had conquered even in his childhood demons like Kamsa and Jarasandha and demigods like Brahma and Indra. Therefore, all universal power was behind the Pandavas. Text 13. Even then, nobody listened to them, to him. Dhritarashtra Duryodhana. Okay. Sayesha doshaha purusha dvidasteyam grihan pravishto yam apatyam matya kushnasi krishnad vimukho gatasrisam त्यजाश्व शैवम कुल कौशलाया. Synonyms. Saha, he, Eshaha, this, Doshaha, offense personified, Purushadvit, envious of Lord Krishna, Aste exists, Grihan, household, Pravishtaha, entered, Yam, whom, Apatyam, Matya, thinking to be your son, Pushnasi, maintaining, Krishna from Krishna, Vimukaha, in opposite, Gatasriyaha, devoid of everything auspicious, Tyaja, give up, Ashu, as soon as possible, Asaivam, inauspicious, Kula, family, Kaushalaya, for the sake of. Translation: you are maintaining offense personified Duryodhana as your infallible son because he is envious of Lord Krishna, and because you are thus maintaining a non devotee of Krishna, you are devoid of all auspicious qualities. Relieve yourself of this ill fortune as soon as possible and do good to the whole family. Purport: a good son is called apatya, one who does not allow his father to fall down. The son can protect the father's soul when the father is dead by offering sacrifices to please the Supreme Lord Vishnu. This system is still prevalent in India. After the death of after the death of his father, a son goes to offer sacrifices at the lotus feet of Vishnu at Gaya, and thus delivers the father's soul if the father is fallen. But if the son is already an enemy of Vishnu, how in such an inimical mode can he offer sacrifice unto Lord Vishnu's lotus feet? Lord Krishna is directly the personality of Godhead Vishnu, and Duryodhana was inimical to him. He would therefore be unable to protect his father Dhritarashtra after his death. He himself was to fall down because of his faithlessness towards Vishnu. How then could he protect his father? Vidura advised Dhritarashtra to get rid of such an unworthy son as Duryodhana as soon as possible if he was at all anxious to see the good of his family. According to the moral instructions of Chanakya Pandit, what is the use of a son who is neither a learned man nor a devotee of the Lord? If a son is not a devotee of the Supreme Lord, he is just like blind eyes, a source of trouble. A physician may sometimes advise the extrication of such useless eyes from their sockets so that one can be relieved of the constant trouble. Duryodhana was exactly like blind, troubling eyes. He would be a source of great trouble to the family of Dhritarashtra as foreseen by Vidra. Vidra therefore rightly advised his eldest brother to get rid of this source of trouble. Dhritarashtra was wrongly maintaining such a personified offense under the mistaken impression that Duryodhana was a good son, able to liberate his father. Text 14. Ityuchi yams tatra suyodhanena pravriddha kopa spuritaadharena असत्कृतः सत् स्पृहणीय शीलः क्षत्थास कर्णानुज सौबलेन. Synonyms. Iti thus Uchiyan, while speaking, Tatra there, Suyodhanena by Duryodhana, Pravriddha, swollen with Kopa, anger, Spurita, flapping, Adharena, lips, Asatkrityaha, insulted, Sat, respectable, Spruhaniya, Shilaha, desirable qualities, Kshatta, Vidura, Sa, with Karna, Anuja, brother, younger brothers, Saulavena, with Shakuni. Translation. While speaking thus, Vidura whose personal character was esteemed by respectable persons, was insulted by Duryodhana, who was swollen with anger and whose lips were trembling. Duryodhana was in company with Karna, his younger brothers, and his maternal uncle Shakuni. Purport. It is said that giving good counsel to a foolish person causes the fool to become angry, just as feeding milk to a snake only increases its venomous poison. Saintly Vidura was so honorable that his character was looked up to by all respectable persons. But Duryodhana was so foolish that he dared to insult Vidura. This was due to his bad association with Sakuni, his maternal uncle, as well as with his friend Karna, who always encouraged Duryodhana in his nefarious activities. Text 15. Kayenam atra pajuhava jihmam dasyaha sutam yad balinaiva pushtaham tasmin pratipaha parakritya aste nirvasya asu purachavasanah. Synonyms: kaha, who, enam, this, atra, here, upajuhava, called for, jihmam, crooked, dasya, of a kept, mistress, sutam, son, yat, whose, balinaiva, by whose subsistence, pushtaha, grown up, tasmin, unto him, pratipaha, enmity, parakritaya, enemies, interest, aste, situated, nirvasya, nirvasyatma, get him out, asu, immediately, putra, purat, from the palace, swashanaha, let him breathe only. Translation: who asked him to come here? This son of a kept mistress. He is so crooked that he spies in the interest of the enemy against those on whose support he has grown up. Toss him out of the palace immediately and leave him with only his breath. Purport: when getting married, the Kshatriya kings would take on several other youthful kings along with the married princess. These great attendants of the king were known as dasis or attendant mistresses. By immediate association with the king, the dasis would get sons. Such sons were called putras. They had no claim to a royal position, but they would get maintenance and other facilities just like princesses. Vidura was the son of such a dasi, and he was thus not counted amongst the Kshatriyas. King Dhritarashtra was very affectionate toward his younger Dashiputra brother Vidura, and Vidura was a great friend and philosophical advisor to Dhritarashtra. Duryodhana knew very well that Vidura was a great soul and well-wisher, but unfortunately he used strong words to hurt his innocent uncle. Duryodhana not only attacked Vidura's birth, but he also called him as an infidel because he seemed to support the cause of Yudhishthira, whom Duryodhana considered his enemy. He desired that Vidura be immediately put out of the palace and deprived of all his possessions. If possible, he would have liked him, what is it? Canned until he was left with nothing but his breath. He he charged that Vidura was a spy of the Pandavas because he advised King Dhritarashtra in their favor. Such is the situation of palace life and the intricacies of diplomacy that even a faultless person like Vidura could be charged with something abominable and punished. Vidura was struck with wonder at such unexpected behavior from his nephew Duryodhana, and before anything actually happened, he decided to leave the palace for good. Text 16. Swayam dhanur dravi nidhaya mayam Bhratuhu puro marmasu taditopi स इत्थम् अत्युल्बण कर्णबाणैर्गत व्यथोयाद् उरु मानयानः. Synonyms: Swayam, he himself, Dhanuhu Dwari, bow on the door, Nidhaya, keeping, Mayam, the external nature, Bratuhu, brothers, Puraha, from the palace, Marmasu, in the core of the heart, Taditaha, being afflicted, Api, in spite of Saha, he, Vidra, Ittaham, like this, Ati, Ulbana, severely, Karna, ear, Banaihi, by the arrows, Gata, Vyataha, without being sorry, Ayat, excited, Uru, great, Manayanaha, so thinking. Translation: thus being pierced by arrows through his ears and afflicted to the core of his heart, Vidura placed his bow on the door and quit his brother's palace. He was not sorry, for he considered the acts of the external energy to be supreme. Purport: a pure devotee of the Lord is never perturbed by an awkward position created by the external energy of the Lord. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is stated, Prakrute kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvasah ahankara vimudhatma karthaham iti manyate. Bhagavad Gita 3:27. A conditioned soul is absorbed in material existence under the influence of different modes of external energy. Absorbed in the false ego, he thinks that he is doing everything by himself. The external energy of the Lord, the material energy, is fully under the control of the Supreme Lord, and the conditioned soul is fully under the grip of the external energy. Therefore, the conditioned soul is fully under the control of the law of the Lord. But due to illusion only, he thinks himself independent in his activities. Duryodhana was acting under such influence of the external nature, by which he would be vanquished at the ultimate end. He could not accept the sound advice of Vidura, but on the contrary, he insulted that great soul who was the well-wisher of his whole family. Vidura could understand this because he was a pure devotee of the Lord. In spite of being very strongly insulted by Duryodhana's words, Vidura could see that Duryodhana, under the influence of Maya, the external energy, was making progress on the path toward his own ruination. He therefore considered the acts of the external energy to be supreme, yet he also saw how the internal energy of the Lord helped him in that particular situation. A devotee is always in a renounced temperament because the worldly attractions can never satisfy him. Vidura was never attracted by the royal palace of his brother. He was always ready to leave the place and devote himself completely to the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Now, he got the opportunity by the grace of Duryodhana, and instead of being sorry at the strong words of insult, he thanked him from within because it gave him the chance to live alone in a holy place and fully engage in the devotional service of the Lord. The word Gata Vyataha, without being sorry, is significant here because Vidura was relieved from the tribulations which trouble even man entangled in material activities. He therefore thought that there was no need to defend his brother with his bow because his brother was meant for ruination. Thus, he left the palace before Duryodhana could act. Maya, the supreme energy of the Lord, acted here both internally and externally. Text 17. स निर्गतः कौरव पुण्य लब्धो गजाह्वयात् तीर्थ पदः पादानि अन्याक्रमत पुण्य चिकीर्षयोर्व्याम अधिष्ठितो यानि सहस्र मूर्तिः. Synonyms: Saha, he, Vidura, Nirgataha, after having quit Kaurava, the Kaurava dynasty, Punya, piety, Labdaha, so achieved Gaja Gajahavayat from Hastinapura, Tirtha Padaha, of the Supreme Lord, Padani, pilgrimages, Anvakramat, took shelter, Punya, piety, Chikirshaya, desiring so, Urvyam, of high grade, Adhishtitaha, situated, Yani, all those Sahasra, thousands, Murtihi forms. Translation: by his piety, Vidura achieved the advantages of the pious Kauravas. After leaving Hastinapura, he took shelter of many places of pilgrimages, which are the Lord's lotus feet. With a desire to gain a higher, high order of pious life, he traveled to holy places where thousands of transcendental forms of the Lord are situated. Purport: Vidura was undoubtedly a highly elevated and pious soul, otherwise, he would not have taken his birth in the Kaurava family. To have high parentage, to possess wealth, to be highly learned, and to have great personal beauty are all due to past pious acts. But such pious positions are not sufficient for obtaining the grace of the Lord and being engaged in his transcendental loving service. Vidura considered himself less pious, and therefore he decided to travel to all the great places of pilgrimage in the world in order to achieve greater piety and advance nearer to the Lord. At that time, Lord Krishna was personally present in the world, and Vidura could at once approach him directly, but he did not do so because he was not sufficiently freed from sin. One cannot be 100% devoted to the Lord unless and until he is completely free from all effects of sin. Vidura was conscious that by the association of the diplomatic Dhritarashtra and Duryodhana, he had lost his piety and was therefore not fit to associate at once with the Lord. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is confirmed in the following verse: Esham tvantagatam papam jananam punya karmanam te dvandva moha nirmukta bhajante mam dhrada vrataha. Bhagavad Gita 7:28. Persons who are sinful asuras like Kamsa and Jarasandha cannot think of Lord Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Absolute Truth. Only those who are pure devotees, those who follow the regulative principles of religious life or prescribed in the scriptures, are able to engage themselves in karma yoga and then jnana yoga, and thereafter by pure meditation can understand pure consciousness. When God consciousness is developed, one can take advantage of the association of pure devotees. Shyana Mahat Sevaya Vipraha Punya Tirtha. One is able to associate with the Lord even during the existence of this life. Places of pilgrimages are meant for eradicating the sins of the pilgrims, and they are distributed all over the universe just to give facility to all concerned for attaining pure existence and God realization. One should not be satisfied, however, merely by visiting the places of pilgrimage and performing one's prescribed duties. He should be eager to meet the great souls who are already there engaged in the service of the Lord. In each and every place of pilgrimage, the Lord is present in his various transcendental forms. These forms are called Archamurtis, or forms of the Lord, which can be easily appreciated by the common man. The Lord is transcendental to our mundane senses. He cannot be seen with our present eyes, nor can he be heard with our present ears. To the degree that we have entered into the service of the Lord, or to the proportion to which our lives are freed from sins, we can perceive the Lord. But even though we are not free from sins, the Lord is kind enough to allow us the facility of seeing Him in His Archamurtis in the temple. The Lord is all powerful and therefore He is able to accept our service by presentation of His Archa form. No one, therefore, should foolishly think the Archa in the temple to be an ideal. Such an Archamurti is not an ideal, but the Lord Himself, and to the proportion to which one is free from sins, he is able to know the significance of the Archamurti. The guidance of a pure devotee is therefore always required. In the land of Bharatavarsha, there are many hundreds and thousands of places of pilgrimage distributed all over the country, and by traditional practice, the common man visits such holy places during all seasons of the year. Some of the Archa representations of the Lord situated in different places of pilgrimage are mentioned here with the Lord is present at Mathura, the birthplace of Lord Krishna, as Adikeshava. The Lord is present at Puri, Orissa as Lord Jagannatha, also known as Purushottama. He is present at Allahabad, Prayaga as Bindu Madhava. At Mandara Hill, he is present as Madhusudana. In the Andaryana, Anandar, Anandaranya, he is known as Vasudeva, Padmanabha, and Janardana. At Vishnu Kanchi, he is known as Vishnu, and and at Mayura, he is known as Hari. There are millions and billions of such Archa forms of the Lord distributed all over the universe. All these Archa Murtis are summarized in the Chaitanya Charitamrita in the following words: Sarvatra Prakasha Tanhara Bhakte Sukhodite Jagatera Adharma Nashi Dharma Stapite. The Lord has so distributed himself all over the universe just to give pleasure to the devotees, to give the common man facility to eradicate his sins and to establish religious principles in the world. Next 18. Pureshu Punyopavadri Punjesvi Apanka Toyeshu Sarit Sarahsu Ananta Lingaihi Samalankriteshu Chara Chachara Tirthaya Tane Swananyaha. Synonyms: Pureshu, holy places like Ayodhya, Dwaraka, Mathura, etc. Punya, piety. Upavaya, the air. Adri, hill. Kunjeshu, in the orchards. Apanka, without sin. Toyeshu, in the water. Sarit, river. Sarasu, lakes. Ananta Lingaihi, the forms of the unlimited. Samalankriteshu, being so decorated. Chachara, executed. Tirtha, places of pilgrimage. Ayataneshu, holy land. Ananyaha, alone, or seeing Krishna alone. Translation: He began to travel along thinking only of Krishna through various holy places like Ayodhya, Dwaraka, and Mathura. He traveled where the air, hill, orchard, river, and lake are all pure and sinless, and where the forms of the unlimited decorate the temples. Thus, he performed the pilgrim's progress. Purport: These archa forms of the Lord may be considered idols by the atheists, but that does not matter for persons like Vidura or his many other servants. The forms of the Lord are mentioned here as Anantalingam. Such forms of the Lord have unlimited potency. the same as that of the Lord himself. There is no difference between the potencies of the Archa and those of the personal forms of the Lord. The example of the post box and the post office may be applied here. The little post boxes distributed all over the city have the same potency as the postal system in general. The duty of the post office is to carry letters from one place to another. If one puts letters in post boxes authorized by the General Post Office, the function of carrying letters is performed without a doubt. Similarly, the Archamurti can also deliver the same unlimited potency of the Lord as when he is personally present. Vidra therefore could see nothing but Krishna in the different Archa forms, and unlimitedly he was able to realize Krishna alone and nothing else. Text 19. Gam पर्यतं मेध्य विविक्त वृत्तिः सदा आप्लुतो अधः शयनो अवधूतः अलक्षितः स्वैर अवधूत वेशो व्रतानि चेरे हरि तोषणानि. Synonyms: Gam, earth; Paryatan, traversing; Medhya, pure; Vivikta Vrittihi, independent occupation for living; Sada, always; Aplutaha, sanctified; Adaha, on the earth; Sayanaha, lying; Avadutaha, without dressing of the hair, etc. Alakshitaha, without being seen; Swayai, alone; Avadhuta Veshaha, dressed like a mendicant; Vratani, vows; Chere, performed; Haritoshanani, that pleases the Lord. Translation: while so traversing the earth, he simply performed duties to please the Supreme Lord Hari. His occupation was pure and independent. He was so constantly sanctified by taking his birth in holy places, although he was in the dress of a mendicant and had no hair dressing nor a bed on which to lie. Thus, he was always unseen by his various relatives. Purport: the first and foremost duty of a pilgrim is to satisfy the Supreme Lord Hari. While traversing as a pilgrim, one should not be worried about pleasing society. There is no need to depend on social formalities or occupation or dress. One should remain always absorbed in the function of the pleasing of the Lord. Thus, sanctified by thought and action, one is able to realize the Supreme Lord by the process of a pilgrim's journey. Next 20. Itham Brajan Bharatam eva Varsham Kalena Yavad Gatavan Prabhasan Tavach Shashasha Kshitim Eka Chakram Ekatapatram Ajitena Parthaha. Synonyms: Itham, like this; Vrajan, while traveling; Bharatam, India; Eva, also; Varsham, the tract of land; Kalena, in due course of time; Yavat, when; Gatavan, visited; Prabhasam, Prabhasa pilgrimage site; Tavat, at that time; Shashasa, rules; Kshitim, the world; Ekachakram, by one military force; Eka, once. Count number. Eka. Yeah, Eka, one. Apatram, flag; Ajitena, by the mercy of the unconquerable Krishna; Parthaha, Maharaj Yudhishthira. Translation: thus, when he was in the land of Bharatavarsha, traveling to all the places of pilgrimage, he visited Prabhasa Kshetra. At that time, Maharaj Yudhishthira was the emperor and held the world under one military strength and one flag. Okay, that means that by the time Vidura reached Prabhasa Kshetra, the Kurukshetra war had already been completed, I think. That's the reason why Yudhishthira had become the ruler of the entire country. Okay, purport. More than 5,000 years ago, while Saint Vidura was traveling the earth as a pilgrim, India was known as Bharatavarsha, as it is known even today. The history of the world cannot give any systematic account for more than 3,000 years into the past, but before that, the whole world was under the flag and military strength of Maharaj Yudhishthira, who was the emperor of the world. At present, there are hundreds and thousands of flags flapping in the United Nations, but during the time of Vidura, there was, by the grace of Ajita, Lord Krishna, only one flag. The nations of the world are very eager to again have one state under one flag. But for this, they must seek the favor of Lord Krishna, who alone can help us become one worldwide nation.
Haribol, what happened?
Come on, Prabhu. Text 21.
Oh, yes, bro.
Text 21. Okay. Tathad Shushrava Suhrid Vinashtim Vanam Yatha Venu Javahni संश्रयम् संस्पर्धया दग्धम् अथानुशोचन् सरस्वतीं प्रत्यग इयाय तूष्णीं synonyms tatra there atha there after Sushrava heard Suhrud kinsman Vinashtim, all dead, Vanam, forest, Yatha, as much as Venu, Javahini, fire due to the bamboos. Samsrayam, friction with one another. Samsprathaya, by violent passion. Dagdham, burnt, Atha, thus, Anushochana, thinking, Saraswatim, the river Saraswati, Pratyak, westward. Yaya went Tushnim silently. Translation: at the place of pilgrimage at Prabhasa, it came to his knowledge that all his relatives had died due to violent passion. Just as an entire forest burns due to fire produced by the friction of bamboos. After this, he proceeded west where the river Saraswati flows. Purport: both the Kauravas and the Yadavas were relatives of Vidura, and Vidura heard of their extinction due to fratricidal, fratricidal, fratricidal war. Okay. The comparison of the friction of forest bamboos to that of passionate human society is appropriate. The whole world is compared to a forest. At any moment, there may be a flare of fire in the forest due to friction. No one goes to the forest to set it on fire, but only to friction between due to only friction between bamboos, fire takes place and burns an entire forest. Similarly, in the greater forest of worldly transaction, the fire of war takes place because of violent passion of the conditioned source illusioned by the external energy. Such a worldly fire can be extinguished only by the water of the mercy cloud of saints, just as a forest fire can be extinguished only by rains falling from a cloud. Next 22. Tasyam त्रितस्योषन्नसो मनोश्च पृथोर् अथाग्नेर् असितस्य वायोः तीर्थं सुदासस्य गवां गुहस्यां यच्छ्रद्धा 22. यच्छद्रदेवस्य स आशिषेवा शेषशेवे synonyms tasyam on the bank of the river Saraswati Tritasya the pilgrimage site named Tritha Ushanasaha the pilgrimage site named Ushana Manohcha as also of the pilgrimage site named Manu Prutoh that of Prithu Atha thereafter Agneha that of Agni Ashitasya that of Ashita Vayoh that of Vayu Tirtham places of pilgrimage Sudasayas Sasya Sudasasya of the name Sudasa Gavam that of Go Guhasya that of Guha yet thereupon Shraddha Devasya of the name Shraddha Deva Saha Vidura Ashisheve duly visited and performed the rituals. Translation. On the bank of the river Saraswati, there were 11 places of pilgrimage, namely Trita, Ushana, Manu, Prithu, Agni, Asita, Vayu, Sudasa, Go, Guha, and Shraddhadeva. Vidra visited all of them and duly performed rituals. Text 23. Anyani cheha dvijadeva devaihi kritani nanayatamnani vishnoh pratyagna mukha yankita mandirani yad darshanat krishnam anusmaranti. Synonyms. Anyani others cha also yaha here Dvijadeva great sages Devaihi by demigods Kritani established by Nana various Ayatanani various forms Vishnu of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Prati each and every Anga part Mukhya the chief Ankita marked Mandirani temples yat which Darshanat by seeing from a distance Krishnam the original personality of Godhead Anusmaranti constantly remembers. Translation. There were also many other temples of various forms of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, established by great sages and demigods. These temples were marked with the chief emblems of the Lord, and they remind one always of the original personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna. Purport. Human society is divided into 4 social orders of life and 4 divisions applying to each and every individual person. This system is called Varnashrama Dharma and has already been discussed in many places in this great literature. The sages are persons who completely devoted themselves to the spiritual upliftment of the entire human society were known as Dvijadeva and the great amongst the twice born. The denizens of superior planets from the moon planet and upwards were known as Devas. Devas. Both the Dvijadevas and Devas always established temples of Lord Vishnu in his various forms, such as Govinda, Madhusudana, Nisimha, Madhava, Keshava, Narayana, Padmanabha, Parthasarathi, and many others. The Lord expands himself in innumerable forms, but all of them are non-different from one another. Lord Vishnu has four hands, and each hand holds a particular item, either a conch shell, wheel, club, or lotus flower. Of these four emblems, the chakra or wheel is the chief. Lord Krishna, being the original Vishnu form, has only one emblem, namely the wheel, and therefore he is sometimes called the chakri. The Lord's chakra is the symbol of the power by which the Lord controls the whole manifestation. The tops of Vishnu temples are marked with the symbol of the wheel so that people may have the chance to see the symbol from a very long distance and at once remember Lord Krishna. The purpose of building very high temples is to give people a chance to see them from a distant place. This system is carried on in India whenever a new temple is constructed, and it appears that it is coming down from a time before recorded history. The foolish propaganda by atheists that temples were only constructed in later days is refuted here because Vidura visited these places at least 5,000 years ago, and the temples of Vishnu were existent long before Vidura visited them. The great sages and demigods never established statues of men or demigods, but they established temples of Vishnu for the benefit of common men to raise them to the platform of God consciousness.
Okay, last verse.
Text 24. Tatas pavivrajya surashtram riddham sauvira matsyan kurujangalamscham kalena tavad yamunam upetya tatrodhavam Bhagavatam Dadarsha synonyms. Tataha from there to but Ativraja by passing over Surashtram, the kingdom of Surat, Dridham, very wealthy, Sauvira, the kingdom of Sauvira, Matsyan, the kingdom of Matsya, Kurujangalam, the kingdom of western India up to the Delhi province, cha also Kalena in course of time, Tavat as soon as Yamuna bank of the river Yamuna, Upetya reaching Tatra there, Uddhava, one of the prominent Yadus, Bhagavatam, the great devotee of Lord Krishna, Dadarsha, happened to see. Translation: thereafter he passed through very wealthy province like Surat, Sauvira, and Matsya, and through western India, known as Guru Gurujangala. At last, he reached the bank of the Yamuna, where he happened to meet Uddhava, the great devotee of Lord Krishna. Hmm. Support the tract of land comprising about 100 square miles from modern Delhi to Mathura district in Uttar Pradesh, including a portion of the Gurgaon district in Punjab, East India, is considered to be the topmost place of pilgrimage in all over India. The tract of land comprising 100 square miles from modern Delhi to Mathura district. Okay. Okay. Okay, this land is sacred because Lord Krishna traveled through it many times. From the very beginning of his appearance, he was at Mathura in the house of his maternal uncle Kamsa, and he was reared to by his foster father Maharaj Nanda at Vrindavana. There are still many devotees of the Lord lingering there in ecstasy in search of Krishna and his childhood associates, the gopis. It is not that such devotees meet Krishna eye to eye in the tract of land, but a devotee is eagerly searching after Krishna is as good as his seeing him personally. How this is so cannot be explained, but it is factually realized by those who are pure devotees of the Lord. Philosophically, one can understand that Lord Krishna and his remembrance are on the absolute place, and where was I? Remembrance on the absolute plane, and that the very idea of searching for him at Vrindavana in pure God consciousness gives more pleasure to the devotee than seeing him eye to eye. Such devotees of the Lord see him eye to eye at every moment, as is confirmed in the Bhagavad Brahma Samhita. Premanjana chu, Churita Bhakti Vilochanena Santah Sadaiva Hridayeshu Vilokayanti Yam Yam Syama Sundaram Achintya Guna Swarupam Govindam Adipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. Brahma Samhita 538. Those who are in ecstasy of Lord with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Lord Shyamasundara Krishna, see him always in their hearts due to love and devotional service rendered to the Lord. Both Vidura and Uddhava were such elevated devotees, and therefore they both came to the bank of the Yamuna and met each other.
Ibo. Okay, thank you so much, Prabhu. Now we read Shikshastakam prayer.
Yes, Prabhu, can you summarize in some words, Prabhu? Prabhu?
Yes. In fact, see, this particular chapter talks about the meeting place between Vidura and Uddhava, only up to this point. Okay, he is going to meet Maitreya as well later, but up to this verse he met Uddhava. Okay, so but the background of the reason why Vidura had to leave the Hastinapura palace was deeply explained here, because he was insulted by his nephew Duryodhana, because Vidura always talked about Pandavas and in favor of Pandavas. Okay, he wanted the share of Pandavas be given to Pandavas by Dhritarashtra or Duryodhana. But Duryodhana did not like it. So that's the reason why he insulted Vidura and asked Dhritarashtra to send him out of the palace. Then Vidura thought that it was due to the external energy, Maya, which influenced Duryodhana to take a decision to take Vidura out of the palace. So he took it as a boon so that he could visit all the pilgrimage places where Lord Krishna's Archa Murtis or DT forms were established, and he wanted to serve Lord Hari at those places. So he was going through all those places and ultimately reached Vrindavana, where I mean on the bank of Yamuna, where he met Uddhava. Uddhava was also one of the devotees of Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Some point of purpose, Prabhu, you can tell.
Can you please say that again, bro? What do you want to listen from me?
Some point of purpose, Prabhu, like importance of temple, etc.
Importance of
Temple.
temple. Okay. The reason, see, in fact, see, a common man who is influenced by Maya, the external energy of Lord, cannot see Lord Krishna directly with his material eyes. So that's the reason why, out of his causeless mercy, Krishna appears in acha forms, that is, in the deity form, and many devotees or demigods establish Lord Krishna's different forms like Madhusudana, Madhava, Govinda, Shyamasundara. Okay, at those places, in those temples, at those places, so that a common man can get access to those temples to see the Lord in his acha form. So at this point, the significant point is that Lord Krishna and his acha form, like his deity form, are non-different. They both are same. But since we don't have enough privilege or enough ability to see Lord Krishna directly, we have been given an access to see the Lord in his deity form. That's the reason why temples are the most important places in our country, particularly in India. Okay, because all the temples are spread across the country, and we have to visit all those places so that we can see the Lord in different forms and get purified as much as possible.
Thank you, Prabhu, very much.
Yeah. Is it clear to everyone?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah, and one more point is, see here in one of the translations, it was mentioned that no demigod or devotee would establish a temple for a particular person or king. They always build temples of the Lord. Somewhere, maybe, can you go up, Prabhu? Maybe 23rd or 22nd verse, if I remember properly. 20. Let me see, 22, 21.
Which one?
Just checking here, bro. 1 second. Somewhere I have read that devotees or demigods will always be, yeah, here it is. Yeah, it's 23 purport. Come down, bro. 23 purport, come down. At last. At last, come down. Yeah, look at that. The great sages and demigods never, see, that is the point to be noted here. The great sages and demigods never established statues of men or demigods or other demigods, but they always established temples of Vishnu for the benefit of a common man, to raise them to the platform of godliness. That means they would never establish temples for a common man or a king or any other demigod. They always try to establish temples of Vishnu or Lord Krishna only for the advantage of a common man, for a common man.
Yes, Prabhu. Yeah, this is clear. Haribol.
Very good.
Very nice. 25 verses we read.
24.
Thank you so much.
Exactly 24. We are going to start from 25 tomorrow.
Yes, Prabhu. चेतोदर्पणमार्जनं भवमहादवाग्निर्वापनं श्रेयःकरवचन्द्रिकावितरणं विद्यावधूजीवनम् आनन्दं बुद्धिवर्धनं प्रतिपदं पूर्णामृतस्वादनं सर्वात्मास्नपनं परं विजयते श्रीकृष्णसङ्कीर्तनम् नाम्नामकारि बहुधानि च सर्वशक्तिस्तत्रार्पितानि अमिता स्मरणेन काला एतादृशी तव कृपा भगवन्ममापि दुर्दैवमिदृशमिहाजानिनानुरागः
ऋणादपि सुनीचेन तरोरपि सहिष्णुना अमानिना मानदेन कीर्तनीय सदा हरिः.
न धनं
न
न जनं
धनं
न
न जनं न सुन्दरीं कवितां जगदीश कामये मो जन्मनि जन्मनि ईश्वरे भवताद् भक्तिरहेतु गीतयि
अयि नन्दतनुज किङ्करं पतितां मां विषमे भवाम्बुधौ कृपया तव पादपङ्कज स्थितधूलिसदृशं विचिन्तय
नयनं गलदश्रुधारया वदनं गद्गद हृदया गिरा पुलकैर्निशितं वपुः कदा तव नाम ग्रहणे भविष्यति। युगायितं निमीषेण चक्षुषा प्राविष्टायितं शून्यायितं जगत्सर्वं गोविन्दविरहेण मे।
आश्लिष्यवापादरतां पुनस्तु माम् अदर्शनात् मन्महतां करोतु वा यथा तथा वा विधातु लम्पटो मत्प्राणनाथस्तु स एव न परः।
Glory to the Sri Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss and it enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious.
O my Lord, your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings, and thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names, you have invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. Oh my Lord, out of kindness, you enable us to easily approach you by chanting your holy names, but I am so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them.
One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly.
Oh, Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your causeless devotional service birth after birth.
O son of Maharaj Nanda Krishna, I am your eternal servitor, yet somehow or other I have fallen into the ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet.
Oh, my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my eyes choke up, and when will the hairs of my body stand on end at the recitation of your name?
O Govinda, feeling your separation, I am considering movement to be like 12 years or more, tears of flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, when I am feeling all vacant in the world in your absence.
I know no one but Krishna as my Lord, and he shall remain so even if he handles me roughly in his praise or makes me broken-hearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything, for he is always my worshipful Lord unconditionally.
Haribol, Sri Siksastakam ki jai,
Jai.
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai.
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 बहुजन्म करे यदि श्रवण कीर्तन तब उतर न पाए कृष्ण पदे प्रेमदान. If one is infested with the 10 offenses in the chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, despite his endeavor to chant the holy name for many birds, he will not get the love of God. That is the ultimate goal of this chanting. The 10 offenses against the chanting of the holy name are as follows. The first offense is to blaspheme the devotees who have dedicated their lives for propagating the holy name of the Lord.
Second offense is to consider the names of demigods like Lord Shiva or Lord Brahma to be equal to or independent of the name of Lord Vishnu.
Third
Third offense
offense
is
is
to disobey the orders of the spiritual master.
Fourth offense is to blaspheme the Vedic literature or literature in pursuance of the Vedic version. Fifth offense is to consider the glories of chanting Hare Krishna to gain imagination.
Sixth offense is to give some interpretation on the holy name of the Lord.
Seventh offense to commit sinful activities on the strength of the holy name of the Lord.
Eighth offense is to consider the chanting of Hare Krishna, one of the auspicious ritualistic activities offered in the Vedas as fruitive activities, karma kanda.
Ninth offense to instruct a faithless person about the glories of the holy name.
10th offense is not to have complete faith in the chanting of the holy names and to maintain material attachments even after understanding so many instructions on this matter. It is also an offense to be inattentive while chanting. Every devotee who claims to be a Vaishnava must guard against these offenses in order to quickly achieve the desired success, Krishna Prema.
Haribo. Let us offer humble obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord. They can fulfill the desires of everyone, just like desire trees, and they are full of compassion for the fallen conditioned souls. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha
Kripa sindhubhyev cha
patitanam
Patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.
Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
May I go from Hare
Thank you so much, Prabhu, for your assistance.